Welcome to ATLANTUM Dialogues, Eternal Edge. I'm your host, Henzi Healy. So today I'm here with Anton Putilin,
Hello.
who's a master of the Leela system, and who says that life is not a problem to solve, but a game to understand.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Anton?
Correct. The game to play.
A game to play.
Yeah.
Okay. But playing a game starts with understanding it.
Not necessarily. You can understand the game during playing the game.
True, but that doesn't that put you on a losing foot if you don't know the rules?
That's the interesting thing. Imagine that you are a soul. You are an energy. All of us, like the concept that energy here, everywhere, is already proven by the scientists. Being an energy, you decided to jump into this physical body, to stop the light in this form, and to forget who you really are. So, this knowledge about rules of the game exists. But to understand those rules of the games, you just need some time to accept those rules. Some time means we are growing from the childhood, looking at the parents, looking at the people around us, the environment, the country we've been born, the family we've been born, the religions. All this environment makes sense for the soul to play the game which we came to play.
Okay, so let's go back a second before I go forward again a second. So when you say game, right? So in your perspective, how is life a game? And more importantly, how do people not know that they're playing it?
I'm coming from the very ancient knowledge about what we are doing here and who we are. The Vedas, which we can call an ancient system of knowledge about this place, about ourselves, about what we are doing here. The Veda says that this world is the simulation. This world is a game to play for the soul through the body, for the energy through this physical body. And then imagine that being this energy, you know everything, and you are connected with everything, and you know everything. There is nothing for you hidden. But being this infinite energy or infinite source, for you it's very desired to forget for a moment of this timeline in life, for the moment to forget who you really are and to start to develop, to have these senses, to have this body, to have this smell, to look at the things from the eyes, to listen it through the ears. And through this point of view, I'm not sure if it's resonating inside, but hopefully it is. We are all here to touch, to try, to develop, to learn, to play the game. But in the simple form that understanding that we are here, coming back again and again from journey to journey, consciously jumping, consciously choosing what will happen, which game will happen with us.
So two things. Number one, and this is what you said when we started the podcast as well, you said that the soul comes back and chooses to forget.
Yeah.
Why?
If you consider just for a second, for a moment, that you realize or you remember that energy is everywhere and energy connected with everything. Being this soul, being energy, what else to do than to limit yourself and to play the game, to have ability to feel, to have ability to feel the emotions, to go through the emotions, through the feelings, through the senses, through everything which we are going here.
But what about people in less fortunate situations? I mean, if we say that we're playing a game, okay, correlate that to us actually playing a board game, right? Okay, I understand there's some points like Monopoly where you're having fun and there's other points where you're not. So it doesn't mean the game always has to be good. But to call it a game for us is very different than to call it a game for someone less fortunate. on the other side of the world, for example?
If you look at it from the perspective of individual, yes. If you look at it from the perspective of the source, imagine that there is one source of energy. It's oneness. And this source of the energy decides to spread into the earth through the million of pieces. And each person is the piece of this one source. And through each piece, in unique way which we came to live and play the game, and we came to live the life, through each piece, this source understands itself better, acknowledge itself better, painting the world through each piece, through each eyes, through each ears, through each senses, through each smell. And then from the perspective of individual, of course, it's not possible to realize this entire existence. But from the perspective of energy or the source of the energy, it's kind of starting to be more familiar and more clear.
Let's go back to why your journey towards this started. So you've described before your journey as a journey beyond logic. So can you describe that and what exactly that was like, and what you mean when you say that?
Yeah, they're basically from my childhood. I was always asking. I was always trying to find something beyond the logic, beyond the science. I was feeling that there is something else. Whatever we cannot explain, whatever we are not able to understand by our mind, there is something else beyond that. And I was searching for something which can show me, because I was needed something to touch, to believe it. I've been experiencing a lot of different tools and modalities, along with the science, along with the different levels of understanding of the science. Always not criticizing, but trying to find the roots. And then, during my experience of different modalities, which I tried a lot in my time, I found that there is something else impacting what's happening in life. My state of emotions, my state of the mind, my energy level, my intention, how I feel myself, and that's from where the life starts to change its direction, the vector of expansion. And then 2016, I found the knowledge which basically changed my life completely. It doesn't mean that it may do the same with everyone, but for me it was a life-changing moment. And like after 9 years right now, there are some people, a lot of people who, because of Leela or after Leela, their life completely changed without any efforts. 2016, I touched this knowledge first, and then I didn't realize, because my entrance into the game took 8 hours, only entrance, only to jump into the process and start it. Because to enter it, you need to roll 6 on the dice from the certain position. The moment of entrance is the moment when you come back to understanding on how to listen to yourself, how to recognize this inner voice, how to recognize which question from those hundreds which you have in mind is important. I've been entering for 8 hours and then finishing the process in 4, so total 12 hours I spent on the board. First time. And I just played the game and I went out. That's it. And after that, in 1 year, my life was completely changed. I will come to it why I decided that it was because of the process. So, in that time, everything was destroyed in this year from whatever I had before. I found myself in the situation where I understood why the people with whom I was dealing was not the one which I want to go with further. And after 1 year, my life just brought me into UAE, in Dubai, basically. I was not planning for it. I had no intention to change my life in this way, but whatever was shown, whatever I went through in this process, in this simple process, showed me the delusion I was in about the way how I deal with the people, the way how the people deal with me. And then 2017 I came here. I didn't realize that time that was the changing point. And then the guy who showed me this knowledge, he came after 1 year here to UAE as well to bring this knowledge to me again. And we played the second time. And then that's the moment I realized that the first process and the second completely changed. It showed me what was there and what was in the second time is two different lives. When I was rolling throughout the process, throughout the board, I found the reflections. I found myself in this board. Literally, I was looking at myself doing the different steps into the different situations as it was shown on the board. And that's where more and more digging into this knowledge, more and more understanding, more and more learning about it, I'm still understanding that I know nothing. After 9 years of researches, after 9 years of digging into it, I still understand that I know only a little bit, still learning about it, but what I know, and what I know through practice, through experience of others, through people who I teach to guide, life is changing. After the process, after the simplification, after consideration life as a game, after looking at this board and reflection of the energy on this board, how we deal with the life, how we make steps, which delusions we have, where is our decisions which led us up vibration-wise. Everything there makes sense when you enter the process. And despite on being general as a board of 72 cells of the consciousness, which yoga says exists in life, despite on the general board, everyone as unique soul, as unique player of the game, will have own process, own highlights, own focuses of attentions, which is completely amazing.
So you used the word delusional quite a lot when you were speaking now, like in terms of how you were dealing with people, to say that we're not in a game. But controversially, other people may say that the oversimplification of human existence into a game, or having to enter by rolling a dice or whatever, they may say that that's delusional. So how does one differentiate the one from the other?
The concept of life as a game is only the start of the path. It's the first step. The first step to start to understand or to start the path is to just relax, to surrender. And that's where a lot more coming. This concept is just the start, it's just the first step. And then that's why I'm saying that the more I understand, the more I understand that I know nothing. It's kind of very deep rabbit hole where the first step is to just accept the rules and then to start the movement. And then you will find Dharma as basic principles, your vision, your principles in life, the laws of the universe. You'll find karma as an action which leads to the different results, and that's where you can change your destiny, you can change your life very easy. You'll find a lot of more. There's a lot of like 72 cells of the board which explains the entire human being, the entire structure why we are here and what we are doing here. But the thing is that not every cell is needed for the certain person in the certain moment. You come in the moment of anxiety, in the moment of some vibrations of the fear or something, there is one highlights and one messages. You come in the moment when you just need to confirm that you are moving in the right path. Another process, another steps, another messages. And that's where the Leela board is the mirror of the energy of what's happening inside and how to look at it, how to consider those messages, how to consider those guidance.
I want you to show the board in a second, just so myself and the viewers can more so conceptualize the things that we're speaking about.
So basically...
So explain this to us, because I note that you were saying say for example, if someone is depressed, you don't need all 72. But then from what I understood from an earlier conversation, this is like the entire board game for life.
Yeah.
But then you also have a dice,
yeah.
correct? So take us through how you play and how often you play and how it's played.
So basically, you see 8 levels of the consciousness, or our expansion, or our involution back to the energy. Everything starts from here, number 68, Vaikuntha Loka. In the middle on the top. The 8th level of the board is the level where we are energy, where we are soul, where we are not incarnated into the physical body. And then the first 7 levels here represents our human being structure on this earth. Sushumna Nadi, or our main chakras in the middle, and then Ida and Pingala, or feminine side and masculine side. And then starting from here, from 68, with intention, with question, with topic, which is important right now for you, you're rolling the dice. 1 dice, 6 on the dice, allows to enter, highlighting that this is important topic. This is what your connection with inner voice, with your intuition is showing. And then rolling 6, you start to move from physical birth. Janma, the first cell, is the physical birth. And then you're starting to move throughout the board, facing the snakes which leads from head to tail. From head to tail leads you down when you step into it, representing delusions on the path, representing the patterns, or where the energy stopped, and then facing the arrows which leads you up to the certain position, hiding your vibrations, showing you that this is the decision, or this is the understanding which is correctly aligned with who you are, with the core decisions. It doesn't mean that snakes are bad and arrows are good. Everything here, same like in life, is for the purpose. We fall down with a purpose, we go up with a purpose. We understand ourselves better. And then moving throughout the board, you will step into the certain positions. those certain positions, you can see the board is written in Sanskrit, and the Sanskrit is the ancient language of Indian Vedas. So every board cell has a meanings about something which you enter with. The intention which you have, the question which you have, will be opened through the different steps, through the different meanings. You will not step on all the 72 cells. You will step on the certain, which will highlight what is important to look at regarding the intention you have right now in this moment. And then, moving throughout the board, the moment you reach Vaikuntha Loka, the same cell, it's finished. The moment you reach Vaikuntha Loka is the moment of clarity, the answers which you get from the messages which happen throughout the board. Only here, not after, not before. After you come back to the earth with a certain action which needs to be taken, Vaikuntha Loka, everything starts here and everything ends here. Everything starts from nothing and everything ends up to nothing. And that's where the concept of Leela is the concept of life. We are coming here from the energy, from the soul house, from the house of the soul. And after the journey, we are coming back home. There is no escape, there is no exception from this place except returning back.
So, how often do you roll the dice? Or I should say the die, because it's just one, right?
It's one.
Or is die plural? I don't know, but
Dice, still
you
dice.
have one, yeah.
Still dice.
So how often do you roll it? You personally?
How often I enter the process, you mean?
Yeah, how often do you roll the dice and then make a move on the board?
Basically, you roll the dice and move. We are unpacking the meanings together. I'm highlighting what is important, what's the chain of the steps, and something resonates inside of you regarding this topic, regarding this intention. And then you roll the dice unless you reach Vaikuntha Loka. Not necessarily you just roll the dice and roll the dice, because in the process you will have a certain insights, you will have a certain understandings of what is important. But it's not what I teach, it's what you remember. Because basically all the answers you already have inside. This tool is just to remember this source where we are, understanding and knowing what to do and how.
But I'm just wondering, because earlier you said it depends with what intention you go in, what block you go to, and then you roll the dice and then you move and then it somehow gives an answer.
Yeah.
So is it only when you have an internal question, or you're looking at a certain path in life, or you're feeling restless? Like, when does one enter the board and then you roll, and then where do you move from? And I'm just trying to understand a little bit more about how exactly it relates to a game, like how it's played.
Basically, this is the tool of self-development, self-acknowledgement, self-realization. This is the mirror. You can use mirror whenever you need it.
Okay.
There is no limitation to use it twice a day, once a month. Everyone is unique. Sometimes we are in the situations where we need to take decisions. And of course, not necessarily you need to go into some process to take a decision if you take a decision by yourself. But sometimes it's good to have a confirmation or the clarity. And that's where people come to Leela to get this confirmation that what will happen if I'll do this? What will happen if I'll do this? It will not work like this. It will work as a reflection that my understanding of what I do is right.
But the whole concept of, like, the concept of life is what I make of it, right? Every
Yeah.
person's reality is different, and essentially whatever I internally believe about myself, I will embody, and life will kind of shift around me to suit it. How is that any different from, do I refer to, because I know I will ask you to define Leela and why it's been around for about 1,000 years or something in a second,
Yeah.
but do I call the board a board, or do I call it Leela?
You call it Leela.
I call it Leela. Okay, so how has what I've just described, how is that any different from Leela? Because one could say that both work the same way, right?
Basically, we don't need anything to live the life. Not the tools, not any modalities, nothing. But here, on the earth, as long as we are here, sometimes we are feeling the call. And that's where I'm not running after the people to let them play the game. Whoever feel the call, they comes. Because Leela is not about fixing, is not about treating, it's not about healing you. It's about your reconnection, your remembrance, your confirmation that you hear yourself in the way it was aimed to happen. And that's where basically, if authenticity or this connection already there, you don't need anything. You just live the life and that's it. But that's the moment where you understand that life is a game. Because everything becomes simple. The biggest delusion in the world which people have is that everything is complicated. Or they think is...
Which makes it complicated.
Yeah. Or like some people likes to say that it's not that simple. It is that simple.
I mean, for myself personally, I'm religious, so I have a certain way of thinking about these things, which then also correlates essentially into how it's explained by energy. But I do know from having done some research, like you were saying, you have practiced a lot with different modalities. So I know that you had tried martial arts and healing, and various other things, if I can just loop them all into one. So how was this different? Like, I'm assuming even in the beginning you said you gained something from the others, but it all led you here.
Yeah.
So how was this different from the other ones? Like, how were they lacking and what did you gain here? And how did you know this was the one and the other ones were not?
I would say that everything which happens to me before Leela was the preparation to this knowledge. Most of the modalities is kind of bits and pieces, because you will find everywhere something which is missing. Some criticism about the other points of view, or the way how it's done, that you need to come back again and again, like a magic pill, to heal yourself, to treat yourself, and it's like it becomes annoying idea of money machine rather than the process of remembrance. And that's where Leela is different completely. You can come once, spend few hours in the process, and it can change, literally can change the years of researchers, years of therapies, years of other things which we usually do. Because you start to remember, you reconnect with yourself, and you find this source inside. You find this source of answers, this source of questions, this source of decisions making. Some people already found it, and that's where they don't need anything.
But is constantly having to go to a board to get clarity on a decision, is that not a bit debilitating at the same time? Because yes, you have access to this board, but if you're waiting before you can consult the board on a certain thing, I mean, I know it's as easy as going home and consulting it, but at the same time, does that not kind of stop you at some points, or is that why you carry it around?
Basically, no, because what I do, I share this knowledge with the people. You can even take a book and the board itself and do it at home with your friends, with your families, looking at how it works for you. Not even being, educated about it. Because the concept of Leela is the concept of life. And every one of us, we know what the life is for us. And that's where the Leela is individually for each person different. And that's where looking at the board, reading the book and the meanings of each cell, you can still recognize what is there and what it is about and ask the question and get the answer. But the answer will come from within, not from the board. Because you will see the reflection and you will understand that that's what I actually was thinking about but not sure about. And of course I'm having with me all the time the boards, and whenever people need me they just call me. But mostly, what I found out throughout my life, that everything happens on time and with the right people in the right place. And I do not insist to share it with such a people or such group of the people. Everything happens by itself. The word of mouth.
So I'm just trying to think, right? Because as people, we have a tendency to look for patterns or to want to understand things in general. And so when something kind of provides us with an understanding, we are more likely to accept it. So playing devil's advocate here, I mean, is this just not another way for people to be seeking patterns or meaning through something where maybe there might not be any? I don't mean that in an insulting way. I'm just
Yeah, I got you.
genuinely curious.
I understood where you're coming from. And that's where to feel it more,
You have to play.
you have to tell.
You have to try.
Because there is no any advice in Leela you will hear for yourself.
No, absolutely.
There is no any plan of how to do the things you will find there. You will find there simple reflection of what is there right now I'm not looking at. And that's where by yourself you will guide yourself to the answer. And that's where Leela is not the spinning to fish for fishing. It's the way of how to feed yourself anytime, any place, without anyone. That's what basically I am coming from. To let everyone be this spark, to ignite more and more people, so the people understand themselves and they don't need any healing, they don't need any treatment from the outside. We are trying to find everything, flying on Mars, on the moon, trying to find another continent, forgetting to look inwards. And that's what Leela is, a concept of a game, bringing ourselves back, engaging ourselves with ourselves again, and allowing us just to be, just to live the life.
Is Leela contrary to religion? Because, for example, I'm Christian, right? And so a lot of the concepts that we're talking about of being able to find happiness, with God and etc. are all there's the same concept. So for someone who's religious, would Leela still be in addition to life, or is it more so on its own?
Vedas itself is the knowledge about how to recognize the energy.
Is that a religion? No,
It
it's
has
just an
nothing-
ancient concept, right?
It has nothing to do with any religion, but it fulfills the answers which are missing in some of the knowledge.
Gotcha.
Any religion is the way to the same source,
Right.
just a different path, different ways. However, Leela as add-on for the people who are trying to understand who they are and why they are here. Not asking what is there, but asking what is here. So that's where there is nothing which contradicts the norms, the rules, the religions. And as long as I'm doing it within the UAE, there is nothing which contradicts any of kind of the religion.
So it's just an additional tool. Like
Yes.
if people, and like you said, if people are led to it, but someone can, so it's just an additional tool for clarity to help you, I would say, hone in on your inner voice, right? And
Yes.
trust your intuition more, or if it's a little bit unclear, to have kind of confirmation. So it's more so not about, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more so not about the board, but an external tool, which almost like, you know, when you have two decisions to make and you flip a coin, and then whatever is the way that it lands, you know that how you truly feel inside. Not to oversimplify, but it's a tool whereby it addresses that, right, and assesses the different options, and then you kind of know within yourself which route you're more comfortable with.
It's just one of the examples.
Okay,
what
gotcha.
Leela could be. But basically, imagine that you wrote the book. The book called Life of Anton as an energy. The book is already written. You start to read this book. You start to play this game. And then during the game, you may have a tool which connects you or reconnects you with your center, with your core, with your energies, with how you make decisions. Not necessarily when you have a certain fork of decisions, but sometimes just when you want to speak honestly with yourself, you can look into the mirror and Leela reflects the energy on the board and it shows you what's inside. Sometimes we are skipping those feelings, skipping those emotions inside. Leela reflects it and say, hey, look at where to focus, what to recognize, because recognition of something we have is half of the solution we are looking for.
And so you touched on an interesting thing now then, in terms of energy. So I note that previously you had spoken about energy from a spiritual perspective or from an unseen perspective, right? But how does that translate into the physical?
I'll give you example. There are certain level of people for whom to have a certain level of life is difficult because they don't know what it is there. So their energy level on the certain position where they are yet learning how to deal with this world, because this world, entire world is the energy, made of energy. There are certain level of people who, understanding the laws of the energy, understanding how the manifestation works, how the energy flows, how to fulfill themselves and how to connect and to keep this core, and they have everything they want. There is no question about money for that level of people. It's just a matter of strategy and movement. So this is example to what you're asking for. And as we said from the start, from the beginning, that we are learning here. Even not knowing the rules, but accepting of the initial fundamental rules which we came to experience, or the game which we came to play. And then the faster we come to the point where we accept the rules as they are without trying to change them on the basic, that's where we start the movement towards expansion. of the energy, and then whatever material things we have is the reflection of our energy level and our capabilities to allow this to happen to us.
So what has Leela showed you about yourself that none of these other practices have?
It allowed me to touch this untouchable, to touch something beyond the logic. When you feel and it happens, when you look at it, it basically confirms you, and then you see it's unfolding, unpacking in the reality. The process itself is, we can say in the scientific point of view, reprogramming your subconscious programs, subconscious mind. Inside the simulation, inside the game, you're reprogramming your subconscious mind, delusions, patterns, whatever is there. And then it affects the conscious reality. Because the subconscious works much faster than the consciousness, and then the subconscious programs, once they are, let's say, reprogrammed inside the Leela process, you are not putting any efforts. Life is changing. Life is transforming. You see it. Literally, you see it by your eyes. You feel it by your whole existence. Even if you do nothing, it's still happening. The life starts to bring you resources, people, proper timing. Everything starts to just clean up the space for something which you went through when you reconnect yourself with yourself. That's what allowed me to actually start to dig more and more, because I saw it not only on myself, but my own experience was the one which showed me that that's what I was looking for, that's what I was seeking for. And then I saw it on other people. After 9 years of practices, I saw it on thousands and thousands of people, experiences already. And that's what every time I'm amazed, because it's showing the life as it is, and it's unpacking, unfolding what's inside, and allowing you to see clearly, to trust, to surrender, but to act through surrender, to trust the universe, to trust the life, and to trust yourself.
So is it about fixing yourself, or is it about understanding yourself?
It's about understanding yourself, finding this connection, finding this core, this source inside, but not fixing, because there is nothing to fix. You're just peeling the onion to find out the inner core which already there.
And so when you say surrender, right, because it's a big part of it is to surrender, what do you mean by surrender?
That's the moment when you finally see clearly that life guiding you, life is leading you. There is a plan. The plan is perfectly aligned with what's supposed to happen. Surrendering means that every situation you consider as a gift, and you are finding this gift in each situation, being it's hard situation or good one or bad one, no matter what it is, it's still for you, because you aim to this to happen. You are planning for this. You are agreeing with other peoples to play the roles for you in this situation. And then you see how it's unfolding and what is there to take, to remember who you are, to become who you came to become.
In the game, however, there's ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
And you were saying before that the downs also are there for a purpose and you need to go through them. If I was playing and I knew where things were going and I didn't want to go that way, can I change the trajectory? Can I choose where it goes?
You can. But for this, you need to change your energy level, or the energy perspective, or the state of the energy. Unless if something needs to be yet recognized, it will lead you to the certain position when you will go down. Not it, but you by yourself, your higher self will lead you to the certain delusions to remember, to recognize. You are like shaping the diamond.
But how do you know what's a delusion and what's not? Because people often, like you've seen people go so deep into a belief, but it's actually just a form of psychosis, or it's a form of a belief that they genuinely hold, but which isn't true. Or is it true, but it's just not true to other people? I mean...
That's the thing. We are all unique. And that's where you cannot apply the general rules for each one. And that's where to practice the process is the way to feel how it works. And that's the wonderful journey which you see happening with you. Why keep on doing this? Because people find themselves there in this process every time, every single time. And I found myself there. And it's really reflecting the energy, reflecting of what I'm skipping, what I don't want to look at, what I'm forgetting, what I need to recognize again, to look at it again and again, where I'm lying to myself, where I'm not honest. And that's where it's not the manipulation against, understanding of what is right or what is wrong. It's your life which you look at it and say, okay, I got it now.
You're a father of 4. So
Yeah.
what does that mean for the rest of the people in your household? I mean, they're not playing the game, right? But you are. But then you're saying that people around you in the game are essentially coming into a role, or a acceptance of a role, or a playing of a role. So how is you playing the game then affecting their lives?
They are happy. The moment you start to recognize that it's just a game, you play. And when you play, everything is simple. You just relaxed. And you are in the moment where you are. Being at home with my kids, I'm with my kids. Being with my wife, I'm with my wife. Not somewhere with
Fully
my
present.
mind. I'm present. And it's the first rule of the game is to play the game. Unless otherwise, when we are escaping from being here and now and not playing the game because something we don't want to see, or we don't want to hear, or we don't want to experience. That's where, as I said, life is not only flowers and blooms and the clouds. Life sometimes is in hard decisions, but it's also part of the game. And considering this, every situation is a part of the game, we start to play the game without importance to the certain things. Just taking decisions, just playing the game, just understanding that that's for me what is there, what's important point there which I was looking for, and how to make it my part of me, part of my story, part of my experience.
Does that make you handle going through difficult things just very relaxed and like?
I would not say that I'm 100% relaxed, but I'm on the way there. But I'm keeping my level of the energy, I'm keeping my core, because I understand that everything there outside depends on me inside.
So are you happy?
I do,
Fully fulfilled?
yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, happiness is not the goal to reach. That's what people are missing. We are trying to run after to find the happiness. Happiness already here. It's already with us. To do everything through this happiness, to do everything through this joy, that's the trick. to understand that every hard situation is part of the happiness, because I decided to come here to live it through.
So what is the purpose then if it's not happiness?
Feelings, emotions. That's the only thing we take back home.
I agree with you in the sense that if it wasn't for even the negative feelings, we wouldn't know that we were human, right? The human experience comes with everything of it. But Anton, thank you. It's been a great discussion, and I think you've proven that life is not a problem to solve, but probably just something we need to see a little bit more clearly.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.